Okay, here I am, live again. Hello. Welcome back to day 2. I'm going live again, talking about mental resilience in Earth's transition towards unity consciousness. Catherine Massell, Elevated Consciousness Coach, New Earth Visionary, leader of this group. Hello. Welcome back. I'm going to see who's going to jump on here and make sure that I am live. Hopefully my internet will not be wonky. Okay, there I am. All right, groovy. Okay, so why is this such an important topic? Mental resilience in Earth's transition. So, I'm seeing people here, but I'm not seeing any comments. Hopefully I'll be able to see comments. Okay. It's so important now more than ever. As we've witnessed so many things falling away, we've witnessed a lot of structures, they're crumbling, they're collapsing as we speak. Things that have held constructs in place here on planet Earth that align with lack, scarcity, fear, greed. You know, there's so much that's coming up as part of the dismantling, the deconstruction of the old Earth, aligned with these things, lack, scarcity, fear. They cannot be supported, these vibrations, these lower frequency vibrations of lack, scarcity, and fear. They cannot be supported in a higher timeline of this Earth. There literally is not a vibration or frequency that supports these lower vibrational ways of being. So they have to collapse, they have to crumble, they have to dismantle. Okay? And as this is happening, what is also crumbling, what is also collapsing, is our identity, whether it is personal or planetary identity, that is attached to these paradigms, that is attached to these structures. A lot of the way we think of ourselves, sadly, is associated through, by lack. How we think of ourselves, how we create our own personal reality and personal identity is often not the sum total of all the things that we are, but rather the sum total of all the things that we don't have yet, the things that we're lacking. And many things in our life are viewed through this perspective of lack, okay? And if we have the very structures in place and constructs in place on this planet collapsing as we speak, what's collapsing right alongside of that is our own identity. So we're going through a kind of collective personality crisis, okay? And that's why we see people on planet Earth in this incredible divide and conquer timeline, because we can only experience in the collective exactly what is happening in our inner reality. So we're experiencing inner division, we're experiencing an inner conflict. In other words, we are at an inner war with ourselves as a result of this collapsing of our personal identity. We're grappling for, well, if I'm not this, then who am I? Literally, this is what people are going through every day on planet Earth. And so we are going through a collective process of grieving, because we're experiencing this loss of self that was tethered to this old paradigm, these old constructs that can no longer be supported where we're going. So in the last video, if you watched me live at 10 a.m., I talked about being in this liminal space. That means that there is a lot of potential available, but it also means that we are grasping for a new level of identity. We're looking for some sort of port in the storm, right? And this requires, in order to move towards a higher timeline of planet Earth, first of all, we have to get clear on what that is. What is unity consciousness? And we can only ever know that on an outer expression and in our external reality, talk about unity consciousness. We can only really grapple with that if we have an idea of what that is internally. So if you're still at war with yourself inside and you're still trying to figure out what your personal reality is, who your identity really is, you are at odds with yourself. And you're not working with a clear vision of what is this place of expectation that you might have of what do you want the planet to look like, but what do you want your place to be in it? What do you want your role to be in it? What kind of person do you want to feel like in New Earth? What does New Earth even mean to you? Right? What would unity consciousness look like playing out on a planetary scale in terms of how we interact with each other as members of the human family? We have to get clear on that first. And then we, through that lens, can look at, okay, well, where am I right now in relation to that? Right? And if you have these aspirations to live out a higher destiny, to move towards something that you deem as greater desire, greater ambition, experiencing more of who you are, it takes a kind of mental toughness to be able to not only hold the vision of what could be, but to be able to hold the vision of what you could be, who you could be in that. It requires our focus, it requires our dedication, and it's something you don't just choose once, you choose it every day. And so mental resilience, this kind of mental toughness, is absolutely a necessary tool to be able to anchor into and push the needle forward on this planetary timeline. And, by definition, we can only do that if we're able to do that in our inner reality first. It's the strength and resolve to keep choosing higher and better. So you might look at the choices you've been making because you felt you had to make them in the light of, the pandemic, the last 2 years of your life. You may be, right now as I'm speaking, doing a quick personal inventory and life review of the kind of choices that you've made that have gotten you to this place right here, right now, listening to me talk. And maybe making a value judgment on, that wasn't a good choice, that wasn't a bad choice. None of that matters. What matters is what you get to choose right now. You have to keep choosing higher and better if we want to push this needle forward on planetary unity consciousness. It requires that you push the needle forward on your inner unification first. First and foremost, we can never experience unity consciousness without, on a planetary collective, if we don't first experience it within. And I cannot drive this point home enough. So one of the reasons why we have this difficulty with mental resilience, mental toughness, to keep choosing higher. Remember, it's a moment-to-moment choice. Choices that we're making now, the choices that we keep making. To take us in a future potential, we have to look at, the future is only a string of now moments. And if we can align the energy of the choices that we're making in this string of now moments, do they line up? Do they match each other? Are they of the same resonance? Are they of the same vibration? Yes? Is it aligned with keeping choosing like higher and higher? Great. You're doing your part to ensure unity consciousness for yourself and for the planet. Okay? This kind of mental resilience is not a one-off kind of thing. You don't just choose it one day and you're done. Because that's not ascension. That's not what ascension is. Ascension is a stepped process. Ascension is not an arrival point. It's not a destination. You're not going anywhere. Okay? Ascension is about resonating with a higher and higher vibration. We have to keep choosing that moment to moment from our human, okay? Because this is our singular vessel of exploration here. This is our only filter of experience, our human. And I get very upset, and I still see this in the spiritual community, and I'm baffled by it, that we keep trying to negate the human or negate our 3D experience. Everything about our human is a vessel for exploration, and it is our singular conveyance, vessel, filter of experience here on planet Earth. We have no experience here in planet Earth without our human. So please stop thinking of it as lesser than, or unworthy, or smaller than. It's an important filter of your experience and the only filter of your experience here on 3D planet Earth. Stop thinking about 3D as a lesser than dimensional realm. This is a playground of experience. It's a playground of contrast. It's a playground of learning. And all the benefits that come with that allow us to remember more of who we truly are. This third dimensional time space is a way of walking us back to who we are in our fullness. And that's 100% participatory. You didn't come here just to pay bills, is what I always say to my clients. You didn't come here just to tick off things on a to-do list, okay? If you think that's the end-all be-all of your existence, it's time to start thinking about, maybe taking a larger perspective on all the moving parts of your life and see what's really going on, creating more awareness, right? Finding out who you truly are, okay? The reason why we have such a tough time with mental resilience, this ability to keep choosing higher and better, moment to moment, being with each moment in full presence. We also have a hard time with that. We're constantly siphoning off our energy towards the past or the future and hardly ever being fully present in the now, which is the only tangible resource that we have to work with here. There only and ever is the now. There is nothing else. Everything else is hallucination. This is the only place we have the potential to create anything, is in the now. And we're constantly, diverting our attention off in a million different directions and anywhere else but the now. It gets you nowhere. There's no creative potential in the past. There's no creative potential in the future because they don't exist. Okay? Because when you're thinking about the past or the future, where are you thinking about it from? The now. Why? Because that's all there is. Okay? So our first thing that hobbles us in being able to have mental resilience is our inability to be present. So what do you do every day to bring yourself into presence, to bring yourself into mindfulness, to bring yourself into the now? Okay. The second thing is we're really, really bad at delayed gratification. As humans, we suck at it. We just do. We suck at delayed gratification. And we do live largely in a sensationalized culture that prizes everything on well, just get it now, do it now, have it now, be it now, all these things. But delayed gratification, even from the time we're little kids, we're not really taught that, we're kind of, in a lot of ways, having a carrot dangled in front of us that if you do your chores or you do your homework, you can have ice cream later on or whatever, okay? Or, you work at something, you keep chipping away at something, that this is what it looks like in its fullness and wholeness when you move through those incremental stages of being able to, work towards this ultimate goal. We're not taught to prize the journey, in other words. We're not taught to prize the process. When the reality of the situation is everything is the journey because there is no arrival or destination point. Everything is the process because we are always constantly evolving. We are always in process. But we're not taught to prize that. And I think what's rolled up into delayed gratification is being able to be with the deliciousness of the progress that you're experiencing now. Who are you now? Who are you now, right now, as a result of the choices that you've made? Can you celebrate that? Can you be with in full presence who you are right now and say, you know what? Good on you. You fucking got here. It took a lot. It took some doing, but you got here, right? So there was a certain amount of mental resilience that allowed you to get here, meaning you kept choosing to stay alive. Let's just start there. You kept choosing to wake up in the morning and go about your day. Maybe the result of all those days put together might have been a blur in some ways because guess what? You weren't enjoying the process. You weren't celebrating the journey every day. But the more that we could do that, the better we'd be good at delayed, the better we would be and more adept at delayed gratification. Okay? But we're taught and conditioned from a very young age to prize the outcome. Just fixate on it so much and attach ourselves to it so much that anything less than that doesn't deserve our attention, it doesn't deserve our celebration, it doesn't deserve, any kind of lauding or respect, etc. That includes you. That includes you because you're in process. We're all in process. We never really arrive anywhere. How can we, as infinite eternal beings who are constantly evolving, ever have a final destination point? We don't. Even this human experience is a blip in terms of our soul's journey of learning and growing and evolving. That doesn't make it lesser than. It makes it enriched with all kinds of experiences that we can say, like, great or small. And that's our value judgment, again, coming in, saying this experience is prized above this one or whatever. Could be anything that you decide to celebrate as you in process, you in becoming more and more of who you were always meant to be. But can you be with you now? And celebrate her or him just as much as you would this outcome you're prizing, right? We're not good at doing that. And if we were, we'd be much better at delayed gratification. We'd be much better at this whole ascension process because we realize there's no final destination point. There's no final reward, really. The reward is being present with who you are and everything that you've chosen, everything you continue to choose that aligns with who you're desiring to become more and more of, who you're deciding to, express yourself as more and more of, okay? So this delayed gratification piece, we suck at it. As humans, we suck at it. We just do. And so that is what keeps us from having this kind of mental resilience, okay? Because when we think about unity consciousness, we think that, and by the way, we're not ever going to experience in our lifetime the fullest expression of this on this planet. So given that information, given that fact, that you're not going to see the fullest expression of unity consciousness on this particular planetary timeline in your lifetime, does that completely take the wind out of your sails? And are you like, well, why bother? Well, what are we all doing this for then? Because it's a progression. It's a procession. It's constantly stepping up into higher stages of consciousness, higher levels of awareness. Will you have the mental resilience, the fortitude, the strength, and the resolve to keep choosing higher and better? Because this timeline of unity consciousness that might feel like this pie in the sky ideal, it is the destiny for this planet. Even though you won't see the fullest expression of it, how much does it mean for you to have it be bigger than just your experience now, in this blip of your soul's journey? Do you have the mental resilience, the fortitude, and the resolve to keep choosing higher? In other words, not just for yourself. And those of you who have children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, how important is it to you to make certain choices right now that align with a higher destiny that secures a better way of being for your progeny, those who will come after you in subsequent generations going forward? And it doesn't negate the fact that when you keep choosing higher and better that you won't receive the benefits of it. You absolutely will. But only if you're willing to see it, only if you're willing to be with those moments where you're choosing higher and better and being able to celebrate it for just that. I chose higher and better today. So if you followed me, you're in my community, you know that I talk about something called the God choice all the time. And this is the secret sauce of being able to choose higher and better and securing a better destiny, moving the timeline forward, that needle forward on this planet towards unity consciousness. The God choice is simply this: that which is aligned with your highest and best good, the highest and best good of all, and those are not mutually exclusive, by the way. We've just been kind of taught and swindled into thinking that they are. And with the least amount of resistance for all involved. Aligned with your highest and best good for all, and with the least amount of resistance for all involved. That's the God choice. And if you look at every single choice that you make, and it's hard, it takes some practice, I'm not saying it doesn't. If you look at the choices that you are faced with, decisions that you have to make every single day, can you honestly say that you're choosing the God choice in all of those choices and decisions? Sometimes we're so in ego and we are so entrenched in our inner critic, our inner judge, that we're not making the highest and best choices, right? Or sometimes in those moments where we feel like we should make a certain choice because this is what society would dictate, or this institution knows better than I do, it's been around longer than I have, so it must know better, right? Or this coach or this mentor is telling me this is what I should do or whatever. But in your inner reality, you know that something's off. Something's not right. And making a certain choice, even though you're being shoulded to death in your external reality through external messaging, if you were to make that choice, you're going against yourself, then there's resistance, isn't there? And those choices never feel good. Any choice you make going against yourself is not aligned with the God choice. And you're not making a choice that's in alignment with Source and your soul-led self. So it's never going to feel right. Yeah? So can you have the mental resilience in those moments, the strength, the fortitude in those moments where you have to make a decision that is either taking me towards this higher destiny that I'm clear on for myself and for the planet. I'm either making choices that are in alignment with that or I'm not. It's pretty cut and dry when it comes down to that. And a lot of us on the planet at this time are having opportunities galore to either make choices that go along with the clarity, the vision, the focus we have towards our higher destiny for ourselves and for the planet, or we aren't. And because it feels off, it feels ick. Anytime you're making choices that go at odds with your highest level of being, your God choice, it's going to feel off. Oh, I love the words and how you're bringing this through, resonating so much for me. Awesome, Corey. Thank you. I've had several opportunities this week to choose higher and better. I may have been triggered at first, but I did change it around after. And old me would have stayed mad for a week, so I know all the work we're doing in your classes has helped me shift. Yes, and Sarah, thank you so much for saying that. That's amazing. And I celebrate you. I hope you're celebrating that you had these opportunities to choose one way or the other. And we always, in those moments, we have the opportunity to choose what is easy or what is right. And what is right isn't necessarily, it's subjective, absolutely. But when we look at it through the lens of the God choice, the choice that's right, does this align with my highest and best destiny? Is me fulfilling this role going to allow me to be of higher service to the planet? And is there a lot of resistance in this choice? No? Okay, then it's clear to me to choose this. And anytime we do that, if we can have a little micro celebration for ourselves, give ourselves a pat on the back, say, hey, you know what, Catherine, I'm proud of you. Sarah, if you can say to yourself, Sarah, I'm proud of you for making this choice. Well done, right? Doesn't that give us more strength and inner support and fortitude to keep choosing higher and better over and over again? It absolutely does. It's that you think the delayed gratification will often come as someone recognizing you or acknowledging you for doing something better. Don't wait around for that. The only thing that you have to worry about is you recognizing yourself in those moments, making a higher, better decision. And the delayed gratification is not delayed anymore because you can gratify yourself right then and there. And that's the mana, that's the creative resource and potential that allows you to keep choosing higher and better, to have the strength and the inner resource to keep doing so. Does this make sense? Is this resonating? We have this natural cognitive bias for the negative. And in light of everything that's been happening on the planet the last 2-3 years, it's highlighted plenty of the negative and the things that are falling away and those structures that I talked about at the beginning of this talk that keep falling away. And how much of our identity is tethered to that, we're going to give ourselves over to that cognitive bias towards the negative over and over again. We're going to, in other words, see what we're losing instead of seeing that, well, this opens up an abyss of potential of what could be to replace what is now gone. And if we're really honest, to replace what couldn't be sustained in light of this new earth timeline, because we simply don't have the energetics to support these old structures of lack, scarcity, and fear, poverty consciousness, right? Hi, Rachel. Hello, old friend. Choosing to be a presenter is definitely a higher serving decision for me at this time, right? And cause for celebration, because you have, Dina, certain realizations about your life, the things that you've, learned, wisdom that you've gleaned, and now you have the ability, the capability, the wherewithal, the desire to share it with others so they can also receive these benefits. Hello, God choice, right? So having this mental resilience, being able to keep choosing higher and better, this is a module that we're going to be adding to In Alignment and Thriving. This is my core coaching program. I have two signature programs. One is Timeline's Expanded Masterclass, which I'm teaching right now, and the other one is In Alignment and Thriving Core Program. This is a group coaching program allowing you to know yourself better so you can love yourself more. This is choosing inner unity consciousness, because as I mentioned, you could never choose it or experience it externally in the planetary collective unless we choose it and experience it within first. That's how it works, folks. Inner to outer is always the way it goes, never outer to inner, even though we think it might be that way. This is an unraveling. It's the shadow work to end all shadow work. It's really such a pivotal, amazing, deep, transformational program. It is. And this is my sweet spot, being able to teach this stuff. So this is a group program that goes very, very, very deep, of removing all of the layers of all that which you are not. And there's no filler in this program. It does what it sets out to do. Gets you in alignment with who you truly are, at the core truth of you, the principles, the ethics, the joy, the desires that drive you and give you the creative mana to help you keep choosing higher and better. This is the course that aligns you with all of that. So this mental resilience in the time of transition for New Earth, this is a module that we're adding, as well as a module on creating more emotional intelligence for the New Earth, because this is what we need to not only drive the needle forward in unity consciousness on planet Earth, this new level of emotional intelligence. We need to be able to sustain that, because we can activate the planetary timeline. We've activated the planetary timeline of unity consciousness, but it's not fully grounded yet. In order to do that, it requires that in the collective, we keep choosing higher and better to keep it going, to keep maintaining this vibration. It's a day-to-day thing. It's a moment-to-moment thing. Do we have the emotional intelligence and the mental resilience to do that? So these are two new modules I'm going to be adding to this time around. And the real piece in anchoring the mental resilience is, can you focus on what's working? Can you focus on being able to celebrate yourself day to day? Yes, we have this cognitive bias. It's part of our software and programming to focus on what isn't working, on things that are lacking. But that doesn't mean you have to succumb to that bias. That means you can recognize it and acknowledge it and still say, from that soul-led aspect of who you are, I see it. I'm aware that it's there. I accept it. But I vow and I decide, I get to decide to choose higher and better. And the only way we really have the foundation to do that, focus on what's working. Focus on what's working. This is such an important piece, without a doubt. So the early bird pricing on this goes away on Monday. If you want to get in on this, I have a separate post on this, but I want to be able to introduce our next presenter in We Are New Earth. And I'm so excited to have all of you presenting. I can't say that enough. I can't appreciate you guys enough. Thank you all for being here and coming out and supporting everybody. Danielle Shalom is up next. Embodied Devotion. I'm so excited about this one. A somatic and quantum energy experience and acceptance of your temple body. Danielle, take it away. Love and peace to you all. Bye-bye.